Hi, this is Pat Duckworth, the author of Hot Women Rock, How to Discover Your Midlife Entrepreneurial Mojo. And my guest this week is a woman that I met at networking down in London a few years ago. And it was one of those times you visit another group and you meet a different set of people, and most of them you never see again, but sometimes you just make a connection. So I'm really happy that we made this connection. So my guest today is a brand designer and the founder of Hartley Sol design agency. She's passionate about creating brands that are a true reflection of a person and of a business's values so they can attract their ideal customers. She's been in branding for 25 years and founded Hartley Sol to bring two of her passions together, healing and design. She creates irresistible brands that capture all of your senses and leave you feeling connected to the heart. How lovely is that? Not something that we always think about with branding. So it's welcome to Marianne Hartley. Hi Marianne, how are you today?
Hi Pat, I'm really well, thanks. And I'm very excited about being here with you today.
Good, because the last time we met was down in London, April last year. And as a birthday treat, I'd gone to hear Mike Dooley. If you haven't heard of Mike Dooley, he writes the Notes from the Universe. And if you need an everyday dose of positivity, Thoughts from the Universe are a great way to get it. And we just coincidentally met up there and ended up taking pictures of each other with Mike Dooley. So it was a very, it was fun, wasn't it?
It was a great day. It was really, yeah.
Yeah, and then we took the advantage of it and went and had a drink together. And how good was that we took advantage of it with everything that's happened since?
I know. When you look back like this and you think it's only a year ago, the things we took for granted then, they're sort of really put in perspective and in sort of bright neon lights in a sense.
Yeah, take advantage of opportunities when they crop up. The first lesson of today. Take your opportunities while you can. And you took an opportunity that day to give Mike a copy of your lovely book, which you haven't mentioned at all. So you
No, that's
can
true.
now if you want.
Oh, well, okay, yes, and I've got a copy right here. I've got one on my desk. So the book I gave to Mike Dooley is called The Universal Heart Book, and it's a collection of 52 heart images that are found like in our natural surroundings. And I'd been taking pictures of heart shapes in nature for many years, and for some reason, without really knowing what I was going to do with them. And one day I posted one on Facebook, and a school friend whom I hadn't spoken to for many, many years posted two wonderful images back in response saying he was seeing hearts everywhere as well. And I was like, oh, let's make a book. And I get quite enthusiastic about things. And he was like, I'm in your hands at that point. And over 40 people contributed from 10 different countries. So it's a labor of love, and it's a really lovely little book that some people use like a meditation tool. They just open up a page and
but it's lovely, and it's just a lovely thing at the moment as well, when perhaps some of us are finding more connection to nature and having more time with our own hearts. So tell me, have you always been entrepreneurial? Has this kind of branding and imagery always been important to you in some way?
So that's really like two questions. So the entrepreneurial part, I remember as a child, where I lived, I had a wide windowsill, and the very first time I created a little shop, I must have been, I was 5 or 6, and I was selling little things that I didn't really want anymore. So, for 5p, 10p. And it was mainly for family and friends who'd pop in to visit. So, but as for art and sort of design, I grew up. My mother had a friend who was an artist, and we spent many hours in galleries. And at that point, I used to find it way too long because it was a bit boring for me. But what I had noticed in that environment is that I saw and I felt like the environment had a different feel than, when you're walking down the street. And I was like, why can't we create this sort of sense of beauty elsewhere? And why are I could see that galleries were half empty and there weren't that many people, and I couldn't understand why people weren't going to see these things, because they were beautiful and they made, you know, they really made you feel good. So actually one of the motivations for becoming a brand designer was that, especially during my teenage years, when I was looking at advertising and I was thinking, gosh, all the things we see are either like there to sort of push us to buy something, or, you know, we think, well, once we have that, we'll be okay, or we had to either have certain things or look a certain way in order to be okay. And I thought, isn't that, I mean, you know, we all have a sense of not being good enough. I think it's just, as human beings, you know, to various degrees, we either have it very lightly or we can have it strongly. But I didn't like the fact that advertising was tapping into that sense of not being good enough. And I was thinking, wouldn't it be wonderful if the things we saw on a daily basis, well, a little bit like what I'd experienced in art galleries, you know, they would uplift us and make us feel really good. So when you'd walk down the street on a billboard, you know, you'd see an image or a quote that made you feel good for the day and really reminded you of who you are, and the, you know, the power that we have and the choices that we have, and sort of, yeah, touching us on a deeper level.
Lovely. So is that the sort of course that you pursued when you went into further education or into your business? How did you take that further?
Well, I always loved art and design. So I always loved drawing at school, and I also loved languages. So I had languages, art, and people I really liked. And so I thought I wanted to do something with those things. And because of this dislike, in a way, of what I was seeing in advertising, that became the motivation to actually study design and understand how these images were created. And I thought, well, if I don't like what I'm seeing, maybe I can do, you know, understand how it works and then maybe do it slightly differently. So I then studied in Switzerland. It was a 5-year course. It was the School of Applied Arts, and I absolutely loved it. It was wonderful. We got to do everything from we did some sculpture, we did photography, we did illustration, we did type like writing our own set of letters, and packaging and logo design. And I always absolutely loved the, you know, logo design, because I was fascinated to how you could capture, you know, like the essence of something and put it into a shape and then make that represent a whole business. So yeah, so I studied in Switzerland for 5 years. I'm half Swiss, half British. That's why I was here. And then I had this sort of dream of working in London for a year. So I plucked up my courage and came over to London with my portfolio under my arm and a list of design addresses and design companies that I really, you know, had huge respect for, and just called everyone up and went for interviews, and found my first week of work after about 5 weeks of searching, because it was in '94. So at that point there was a sort of a recession that had also happened, or there was a dip in the economy, and people were telling me I wouldn't find anything. So I really grabbed that opportunity when I was offered 1 week's work, which then in the end turned into, well, several months, and I think I was there for a year. But I freelanced for most of my design career. So I was employed in total for about 6 years. So I guess that I loved freelancing because I got to work on lots of different projects, and also with different people and different design agencies. And I enjoyed working on, you know, large corporate projects like Toyota and Intercontinental Hotels, and understanding how they were positioning their brand. But I also had this real passion for the mind, body, spirit, which I sort of kept as a thing that I did outside of work and at the weekend, because I didn't want to come across as too woo-woo at work. And having for me, the sort of the mind, body, spirit and design made complete sense together. But at the time, I really kept them apart because of this fear of being judged.
So
And
is it very different freelancing and, I don't know, what, running your own business? Is it the same thing, or were you with agencies, or how did you do it?
yeah, so the big difference between freelancing and running your own business is that when you freelance, I was with agencies, and I had like several design studios that I did regular work with. So they were the ones commissioning me to do work for them.
Mm.
So it wasn't directly with a client. So the big difference with running your own business is you have your own direct clients, and obviously you do design work, you do all the things that you do as when you freelance. And I think one of the greatest differences is that you obviously need to look for clients, you do networking, there's a whole raft of things around running your own business that there is a big chunk that when you're freelancing, somebody else does the new business meeting, somebody else looks after, you know, what the name of the new product is going to be and where the next project is coming from. But when you run your own business, it's like you have several hats to wear.
Yeah.
And
Several. There's always so there's a whole wardrobe of hats to wear for yourself. So when you did it as your own business, is that when the mind, body, spirit started to come into the design work?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's when I launched Hartley Sol. It was like, Pat, I really felt like I did a coming out, because I was saying I'm a designer and I'm a healer, and I was terrified of actually announcing it that way. But really, it made complete sense to me, because what we surround ourselves with has such an impact on how we feel. So, you know, if we look at something beautiful, our whole body relaxes, we feel more at ease, and we breathe more easily, and it gives us endorphins. And I really believe that if our brand is a true reflection of who we are and our values and what we stand for in the world, then the brand is there then helping us to reaffirm that. Also on the days when we don't want to get out of bed, you know, that it becomes like a real part of the fabric of your business, and it really supports you. So yeah, so that's when I launched Hartley Sol, to really bring healing and design together, to create brands that connect to the heart and become part of the life force of your business.
Yeah. So how has that business developed over 25 years?
What's been amazing is that because I announced this way of working, it's obviously not for everyone. You know, not everyone wants a brand that really connects sort of on a heart and soul level. But for those that do, it's such a joy to work with clients like this, because they are wanting to go deep and have a brand that stands for who they are and the values they stand by. And I've had such a wonderful clients over these 7 years. One of them is the International Association of Facilitators, and they'd been running for 25 years, interestingly, and wanted 20 years, and they needed a rebrand because they'd never really thought about their brand. They're in 65 countries. You know, I love the international feel of the IAF, and we're still working together, and it's 5 years on, you know, there's other ways, like other projects that emerge or other areas to really keep the brand consistent. And so
you work with quite, I know you work with small businesses, but you go all the way up to big international as well.
Yeah. And yeah, also from like a local primary school in Hackney, I did the logo of their school, like a refresh of their logo, and then they were turning into an academy, so we came up with a name and a website and the whole branding, and that was a complete joy. But then also literally individual, you know, coaches. So, And the common thread, so whether it's an international association or an individual running their own business, is that, so it's not a demographic, you know, it's not like I only work with coaches or schools, but the common thread is that everyone I work with is really passionate about what they do and want to have a brand that reflects this passion and their values.
Yeah.
So that's where
It's
we
a
align.
psychographic.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
So this is Pat Duckworth, and today I'm talking to Marianne Hartley. And what is your purpose now? What really motivates you to do what you do?
I love this question.
It's a juicy question.
It is. So my purpose, well, I'm completely passionate about creating beautiful designs. They've got to be beautiful and simple, that reflect the essence of a business. So, and for the brand then to be a true support to the values of the business. So for the business to be successful, for the business to attract their ideal clients and customers, and for them to be able to communicate their message to one person or the world, whatever their target audience is. And I'm passionate about creating these designs that it's a bit like when you look at them, you feel good. You have this sense of, actually it does reconnect you to your heart. So whether you are the business owner with a brand like this, so the clients that look at it feel that connection to the heart of your business and to the values. But it's also the employees that you're going to employ, you know, they feel that connection. And it's an energetic connection, because really shape, you know, design, what's the design? It's a shape, it's a color, it's a font, it's images, and these communicate with us on an emotional level. And actually, you know, when we buy something, we can rationalize why we've bought something, but it's actually always an emotional, like we feel drawn to it and we want it, and then we can then justify why we have bought a pair of beautiful shoes instead of not.
Yeah, I totally get it, because there are some things that are just commodities, you know, a bag of flour or something, although even then you might buy a particular bag of flour because you like that brand. But there are some things that I just love the way the brand makes me feel. So the Joe Malone brand, but you know, the Joe Loves brand, which came out from Joe Malone, and Paul Smith. I just love Paul Smith and
I love
Paul Smith designs, and I like the little quirkiness of it. So I would have said I'm not much of a label person, but there are some brands that just make me go, oh, I just want to like stroke the brand.
Exactly.
Yeah. And as you say, they make you feel good. But that connection as well with art. I remember being up in London one day, and I was going past the portrait gallery, and there was a David Hockney exhibition on of portraits that he'd done throughout his career. And I wasn't in a down mood when I went in, but I wasn't particularly lively. When I came out, I was kind of buzzing.
Yeah.
And there's such that huge difference between seeing an image, perhaps in a book, and standing in front of that image. Like the vibration of the creator comes through to you. And I think you can get that from brands as well.
That's true. And actually what you've just shared reminds me of some advertising. I'm not going to say all advertising because it's not true, but some advertising feels more like it's taking from you. And actually art is something that gives, and you leave and you feel you've received something, and you feel like, you know, part of you was touched that hadn't been touched before. And for me, this is the part I aim to connect with and touch that, you know, this sort of the heart, the essence, with a brand. So brands I love, for example, I love pucker teas.
Yeah.
Like, I wish I'd created that brand. I really do. And also when Innocent Drinks first came out, I loved that brand, and Green and Black's chocolate. And actually, unfortunately, with all these amazing creations, they've now been bought by very large companies
who want some of that feel good, you know. When
and can't sustain it.
When Coca-Cola bought out Innocent, they wanted that vibe, but of course, as you say, it drifts away.
Actually, that essence can't sustain itself when the business owner isn't there anymore,
because the values have gone.
Yes, and it's like, you know, it becomes empty, or it's like just the picture, but the heart's not there. And you also experience this, for example, with amazing restaurants or hotels, you know, and you really feel when the owner is imbuing his or her energy into the place. And if it's sold, it's then just like, it's a bit like a cardboard cutout. It sort of lacks that personal touch or essence that was present before.
Yeah, I love that. Really interesting. I could talk to you a lot about values. We haven't got time, but that whole thing of the values of the business as well, and that's what comes through with the heart of it. You know, once the values aren't really there anymore, the whole thing just collapses like a pack of cards. So tell me, after 25 years, what does success mean to you now?
Oh, success to me means quality time with friends. It means a glass of wine with a beautiful view. It means time to travel. It means, time with loved ones. And it means having time in nature as well, and not working 24 hours a day, but actually working, like, still loving the work that I do and having time to have leisure, you know, to enjoy time off.
This is a bit of a supplementary. Have you found that the things that you're really appreciating as success at the moment have changed in the last few months or got more clear because of being in lockdown? And
I tell you what, it feels like everything has become, it was as if I could see things in sort of black and white and grey before, and then suddenly they became multicolored. And there's, these past few weeks have really made me enjoy, they're also very simple things often, and actually very, you know, you don't have to go far, and really appreciating my immediate surroundings and nature even more. Nature's always been one of my big sources of inspiration and nurturer, and nature, without being able to be out in nature, that would have been really, really challenging.
I'm so grateful that I live where I do with my lovely little garden and access to the countryside. It just feels so important at the moment. So and what would be your top tip or tips for new entrepreneurs? They don't have to be branding related, but
top tips, I'd say it's keeping balance, like, because we can drive ourselves into the ground, you know, sort of going towards success. And I think when you start up with a new business, you do need to give it a lot of energy, and that's part of it. But also don't overdo it, that you then, you know, you burn out, that you lose sleep, that you lose your health. Like, keep things in perspective. And it's like, for your business to be successful, especially if you run it on your own, you do need to really take care of yourself physically, emotionally, spiritually. So, you know, exercise, good food, time off, meditation, whatever it is that you need to keep balance. Because if you're stressed, you're not going to be as productive in your business. And if you are the sole trader or the person running your business, if you're not in a good space, your business is not in a good state. So really actually taking care of ourselves, I think, is one of the key things.
Yeah, definitely. So, if people want to find out more about you, how can they find you?
So I'm on social media. I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me under Marianne Hartley, or through my website, hartleyandsoul.com, or on Instagram, Hartley and Soul.
Excellent. So, what have we learnt today? We've learnt that branding is much more than just the demographics, and it's more than the fonts and the images and the colors. It's about capturing the soul of your business. And we didn't really have time to talk about values, but it's how those values are encapsulated in your branding. And we learnt that it's important to look after yourself, to have that balance in your business, and to make sure that you're taking the time out to look after your body and to look after your spirit, and the importance of nature, even if it's a flower in a vase or if it's your window box, but your garden, the countryside around you, how that replenishes your soul. And really early on, we talked about that visiting art galleries. When we can do that again, how wonderful that will be, to stand in front of paintings and just really soak up the vibrations of the painting. Thank you so much, Marianne. I've really enjoyed talking to you today.
Oh, thank you, Pat. It's been a real pleasure to spend this time with you.
Thank you. And to all of our viewers, keep watching out for more of these wonderful conversations with amazing entrepreneurs. Take care now.